Hey, everybody. It may have well been the first time that we've heard the cascade of boos at Yankee Stadium in the Pascal Janssen era. Pascal has a 24-hour rule. That is, no matter what the result, you can vent for 24 hours within the 24-hour period. We are within that period, so that's part of what we'll do here. We might also vent about World Cup tickets. More exciting news there as well on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy.
Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Wait a minute, where is that guy? There he is, Roberto Abramowitz there. I'm here, Glenn Crooks. I'm in Jersey, Roberto's in New York, and it was a beautiful day in both venues, and it was an ugly night at Yankee Stadium, to be clear. That 24-hour rule I was referring to, that Pascal has often mentioned that after a game, you have 24 hours to dissect it however you want mentally, but then at the end of 24 hours, it's a new day, and we're preparing for the next moment. So I didn't know at first, but yeah, we are within the game ended at about, 9:30, 9:45 p.m. last night. So we're in that 24-hour period, Roberto. So let's play the role of player or staff or I guess supporter. We're broadcasters. We've been there since the first kick, so there's some emotional attachment. So we have to we may have to give our opinions here rather heavily tonight. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Very frustrating evening if you're a New York City FC supporter, and it's just too long of a run of just bad results, and it's just the way that they're allowing these games to get away from them. It's just troubling. The 2 goals last night. I mean, throughout the whole game, because first of all, in the first half, even though they went up 2-1, there was so many opportunities that were left on the table, and I kept on mentioning to Ariel, this is going to come back and bite them in the butt. You know, all these opportunities they left, and then they go up 3-1, and then you feel, all right, well maybe they'll do that. Then it was like, then they have the goal disallowed, right? That gorgeous goal by Evander, and the foul that he committed on the buildup, which was what got rid of that goal. So you're like, whew, okay, New York City sigh of relief. But then they get another one. You go, oh, God. And then Thales Magno scores a gorgeous goal. You go, all right, 2-goal lead. Maybe you can breathe. And then they allow 2 goals in stoppage time. And you're like wondering, what is going through the mind of this team?
Well, since you've talked about it and kind of gone through the goals, I've got a special treat here. I have all 8 goals that we can talk over. And then I've got my broadcast partner, Matty Lawrence, talking about FC Cincinnati's first goal in commentary. I've got 2 clips with Pascal Janssen post-game, 3 clips, actually. I think we should hear them all. And also Pat Noonan, the FC Cincy coach, post-game. So there's a lot to digest here, but let's take a look at these. Here's the first New York City goal, first goal of the game. This howler by Roman Celentano, who really had a poor evening, you'd have to say, and it kind of started right here. I mean, and then Nico was at the doorstep to finish it off. But here's the tying goal, and we're going to get more deeply involved with this because I think the way Maddie described it was pretty good. But this is pretty wild that one of the best goal scorers in the league is all by himself at the back post. That's
where's Raul Gustavo on that play?
I don't know, but how about Maxi on this one? And then, Celentano, hey, it's a good finish, but you could claim that Celentano could have done better on this. A fairly sharp angle,
He didn't get beat to the near post, and here we go again, same play, basically.
And 3-1, and that was really poor on Celentano's part, but credit to Ojeda, credit to Aiden O'Neill who found him. Did you see Ojeda? He's looking behind. He's going like, I can't believe there's nobody here defending me.
Yeah.
And then set piece defending. Wow, we've talked about that before. So this is egregious. This is absolutely egregious to make it 3-2. And then you have your reserves come in, and this is what you want from Magno coming off the bench, and it's a wonderful goal. Now it's 4-2, and you're figuring, all right, hopefully
10 minutes to go. You're good.
Second time in the game off a throw-in, New York City gives a goal up. It was off a throw and poorly defended. That's not, you can't say that's not a good shot.
It's a wonderful shot by the 17-year-old making, in his first season. My goodness, it was a great shot. And then O'Toole gets just taken to school here by Evander.
Yeah, this is kind of boop. That's all you got to do. I mean, that's the Brazilian. We see Magno do the same sorts of things. They had a nice discussion afterwards, those two Brazilians, and there's 4-4 right there. And one more look at Evander, who scored his first goal of the year in the last game, Roberto, and it was how do I get us back here? There we are. In that 3-3 draw with Chicago, and he scored on a Panenka. So Matty described it. He felt that Freese was probably trying to figure out whether he was going to go that route again, and then ended up having to move late. It was the wrong way, and it's 4-4. So here, I would like your thoughts after this. Let's play. This is the first goal for Cincinnati. New York City's up 1-0 on what was really fortunate, but Nico Fernandez-Marcao had a brace last night. He was there, kind of that poacher's finish, which is what you're expecting from him now. And then here's Denke's goal.
Cincinnati in the midfield. Giddy just stepped in front of Maxey, and now here's a shot and an equalizer. Kevin Denke with a service from the right flank, and Shanike gets the assist, and Denke his third goal of the year, and New York City unable to maintain the advantage in this one, and it's 1-1, 32nd minute.
Well, boy, do they know how to switch off at important times. The ball goes out of play, they switch off, it's a quick throw-in, across, and a volley at the back stick. I have no idea where the defence goes. They're absolutely all over the place. I have no idea why there's a gap of 20 yards between Thiago Martins and Tavon Gray. Tavon Gray's far too far away from the play. Thiago Martins gets dragged into the near side, to the near post. And Denke, he's unopposed, Glenn. He's 8 yards out, and all he does, it's a decent cross, meets it with the broad surface of the inside of the left foot, goal. As simple as that. They have not been in the game, FC Cincinnati. This has the Charlotte game written all over it again.
That's about right, except it was a draw, but felt like a loss. How many more games are you going to play where it felt like a loss, even though you get a point?
Yeah, St. Louis, right? So it was that. So there's two things. I found Raul Gustavo on the play. So O'Toole is late in trying to cut down the service from Echenique, right? He gets beat by Echenique and is able to comfortably serve the ball. Raul is sort of like in no man's land between Martins and where O'Toole is, right on the edge of the 6, maybe, or even further out. And so Martins is like trying to cover the guy who is being dragged away. This is okay. So here we go. So Martins now goes to like the near post, and nobody is there with Denke.
So here's the organization. Nice little still. Hey, this is off a throw. Look, first of all, it should be noted that they were flat-footed defensively off the quick throw.
Yep.
And so right away, because you could see Aiden O'Neill wasn't ready, Kai Truen wasn't ready. So your midfielders, because here's well, you can't see it. I don't have a telestrator, but that's Aiden O'Neill in the corner of the box on the right, and
you see Gustavo right off the line of the box of the 16.
Yep. So he's either got to be in the area to defend for a header, or he's got to be far enough out to cover for O'Toole so that he can help him deny service. So you're right. No man's land is is an apt description. But Truin and O'Neill are kind of late into the area. And then, one thing the weak side fullback always needs to do is recognize, and that's Tavon Gray, who's the one closest to us. You have to recognize if your central defender is pulled out, and you have to cover the danger player. There's only one danger player here, and he's got a race to get goal side of Denke like now.
Can you pull that back a bit? Is there any way? Because what happens is that they're so good. Okay, so just go a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you to stop. Because stop. So there's Martins on the left, okay? Martins is with Denke.
Yeah.
Martins is with Denke, and then Martins goes and covers. I mean, I don't know. I guess he thinks that they might get beat, and he's going to go there and cover if they come down the line. But look where he is, and he allows Denke to be all alone. And that should be his responsibility.
Well, the Barlow has beaten Kai Truin to the spot. That's right almost smack dab in the middle of what we're looking at here. And if you're only listening to this, hopefully we're describing this to give you a picture. But anyway, it's worth seeing again. And look, there have been far too many of these sorts of breakdowns, unbalancing, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to play one more clip with Matty because I think, as I put on social media today, this is the best line he's ever had in my 10 years of doing the games with him. And this is Evander scoring the equalizer and then the resulting comment.
It's the goal to the right. He's a right footer, Evander. He approaches, shoots, and he has Freeze going the wrong way. And it is 4-4, still with 3 minutes remaining in the minimum 7 added here in the second half at Yankee Stadium.
What a shame, but again, we talked about it. We talked about the lapses in concentration. From the minute that the Chirilla strike went in, you could sense the nerves, the tension here. We're getting a look on our monitor at Pascal Janssen. Well, there's not smoke coming out of his ears, but there should be. He should be absolutely furious. Pat Noonan can't believe his luck. He's got champagne corks coming out of his ears.
He does. 2 games in a row that they've come back from 2 goals down in the second half to tie for Cincinnati. They did it against Chicago last week.
Yeah, he kind of, Pat Noonan after the game, you can tell he was a little like,
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for us not to walk off the field with anything, and for these guys to, salvage a point and in the fashion that they did it, with everything that was thrown at the group in the lead up, before, in warm-ups, during, with injuries. It shows if when we get this the defensive side of the ball right, the character's there, the attack is there, and I think we'll be a good team. But we know we got a ways to go. But that was impressive from the guys that finished that game.
Yeah, knowing that they lost Hadabi during the game, a center back. They lost Hagelin in pregame warm-up as center back. They were without Miazga and Miles Robinson, their 2 starting center backs. I mean, they were decimated. So New York City scores 4 goals. That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but they needed 6.
Oh.
So I don't even know which way to go. There's so many opportunities missed because they should have destroyed a team that was playing, with full backups. That should have been. And then in a poor night by Celentano as well, which is rare because he's on the radar for the U.S. national team. He was in camp the last time that the U.S.
Roberto,
national team came in.
So he concedes 4. The presumptive number 1, I don't know where Matt Freeze stands right now. He concedes 4. And Chris Brady conceded 3 in his last game. Matt Turner for New England, they've won 4 in a row. 2 clean sheets. They've only conceded twice in those 4 games that they've won. And Turner
won 2-1 last night. Yeah,
Turner has looked very good. So this is really interesting. There's 6 games left before the World Cup break, and I think they're pretty critical for Matt Freeze. I really do. I mean, we're going.
I do, but let's. I mean, you could blame Celentano on 2 maybe 3 goals, right? He literally just, as we say in Spanish, le escupió, which means he spit it up, and he gave a gift to Fernandez Mercado. And then, he got beat far post twice, although he did stop one of them, right, on Ojeda.
Yeah.
Which Ojeda should have put the ball a little bit higher. We were talking about that, during the game, that he's got to have a calm mentality on those. And sometimes you just, put it 3 feet in the air and it's impossible to stop. But
I know what you're leading to. You can't blame the goals on Matt Freese. I understand that. I understand that. But they're conceding goals at a rapid pace and terribly organized defensively in front of him, which is partly his responsibility. He can't play for them. I recognize that. And I'm not suggesting no one person is ever to blame for a goal scored or a goal against, really. I mean, unless you dribble from one end of the field to the other, beat the whole team and stick it in the back of the net.
Salentano on the first goal, you can absolutely blame him for that one.
Well, who committed the foul? Or no, it wasn't a foul. What was that? It was a run of play, right? Because the ball was played back to O'Neal.
It was an easy cross by O'Neal.
But I disagree with you, and I don't know what happened. But you could rewind that tape 30 seconds, and there's something that Cincinnati probably could have done defensively to prevent that from even happening anyway. That's why I'm saying it, because it's always a team effort. Anyway, that's the way you got to look at these things, I think. But just on the surface, I just think Matt Turner is improving his stock and his status, and the possibility, if there's any indecision on the Mauricio Pochettino end, it's you have to kind of start looking a little bit better defensively and what's going on in front of him. Like Pascal Janssen, I got 3 things from him. He does mention not Freeze, but just the defending here. Which one is it? Let me see. I'm going to play this one for you, Roberto. And this is rather lengthy. It's 1 minute and 45 seconds. And there's 3 here. And I want to play all of them because it's look, this is maybe the first time post-game I've seen Pascal. He still has a calm demeanor, but you can tell he's troubled.
If you look at the games that we've played from, I would say, Miami onwards, there's a few things that happen in the game against Miami, which I've seen also come back in the other games, and it's been specifically addressed, dealt with, and made ourselves aware of a couple of things that have to be banned from our game in order to have the results that we're looking for and that we might even deserve. But on the other hand, if you're very stubborn to learn from these moments, they will come back and haunt you at some point. So today is a game where I think it's almost in the same category as St. Louis, where you control the game. It's almost the same as Charlotte last week, Citi Field. You control the game. You have enough opportunities to build a strong lead. Even today, you have an opportunity to bring to create a stronger lead. But like I said to your colleague just now, when you see what happens in the last 15 minutes, that is something that is simply not possible in how we approach our game. I said to the guys also after the game, last season, we were one of the most solid teams out of possession. We created pretty decent, scored a couple of goals, but we were also very hard to beat because we didn't concede as much. But if you see today, it's something you, how do you say this? You call upon yourself. You create this anxiety yourself.
So that was one of his opening comments, and a couple of things that have to be banned. He's talking about something within their game. So from this press conference, by the way, and I'll play these other 2 also, but I've already developed 3 or 4 questions and for Pascal in the pregame interview, which we'll be doing tomorrow after we land in Montreal. And he also said it's not possible, meaning it's like, this is impossible. How could this possibly happen? So I'm going to bring some of these things up and see what needs to be banned. And here's another one. Here's another one.
Or the first one came out of nowhere. But Denke is their DP. He knows what to do with this type of space and a quality cross that the delivery that he got. So that was one in the category, like I tried to explain just now. It's impossible, especially for a team with our qualities and knowing that we are perfectly capable of dealing with these type of situations. And the second goal, that comes from a set piece. And I know you do your homework. What happened against Miami? It's a set piece. The third goal, it's a late situation from a corner, and we get done. It's a set piece against Vancouver just before halftime. So, but we'll get it right. Don't worry, we'll get it right. But it hurts now because it was so unnecessary tonight.
Well, that's what I mean. He's really not expressed himself in that manner after any game this year. And that's why I think, it's one of the, the more challenging moments here in this Pascal Janssen era for New York City. No question.
Well, of course, when you go this many games without a victory, and within MLS, obviously, you got the 5-2 win over Westchester SC. But it's the same story, except for Vancouver, in pretty much every game. You dominate, you don't score, and then you get tired, then something happens, right? Obviously, they did score this time. They scored 4 goals. And when you score 4 goals, you should pretty much win every single game. But the distractions, lack of concentration, lack of, knowing who to pick up, the individual mistakes that are happening that New York City is being punished for have to stop. Just have to stop. And then Maddie said something in our group chat today about New York City. This is something that they did very well last year because it took them a while to learn it. But once they learned it, they were top in the league at this, on how to close out games.
Yeah.
They were great at it. They're not this year now. And now they're going to have to somehow relearn it. And I'm wondering, right now we spoke about this a little bit, in our chat group today, is like, how much do they really miss Justin Hack?
Well, you need to bring it up, but at the same time, there's not much you can do about it. But as those of us who need to evaluate and just try to sort out what is happening, and Pascal brought up the past in that post-game comment about where he told the team, this is what we were very good at last year, our defensive organization. He didn't mention closing out games, but they were fantastic. And all the moves that Pascal made last year at the end of games, with rare exception, worked
fantastic.
out.
Yeah.
Last night they go to 5 at the back. Didn't work out.
No.
It did not work out.
It didn't work. It's just so strange to see these things because they're quality players. So what happens now? Do you decide to make a change again in midfield and you put Sherwin back on defense and you bring Keaton Parks in? How quickly can Perea get back? Because we know Perea defensively is very strong, and we know that he's training with the team now, so he can't be that far off. But it's just hard to believe. I mean, that they blew the game against St. Louis, right? You blew the game against St. Louis by allowing a stoppage time goal, and now you blow this one by allowing 2 stoppage time goals, and that's just it. I'm sure that the meetings, the videos, the conversations, there's not much training, right? Because they were off today, they'll train tomorrow, and then they got a game. So they'll have, it's going to be an intense training session tomorrow.
Well, I look at structural versus urgency versus intensity, which are 2 words that he's used recently in regard to these, like that set piece situation. That Denke goal, the second goal, to make it 3-2 off that set piece is, that would be one where if you were in a training session, you'd stay an extra half hour before you got that, until you got that exactly right. That's how bad that was. And so it's like, I just... and it was fortuitous. Denke knocked it off the back of someone and came right back to him. But who's getting all the touches in there? New York City didn't have one touch. But the ball was touched 3 times within 12 to 15 yards of goal. It was touched 3 times, and all by Cincinnati. I mean, it's that
happened.
Look, it's I'd like to see who's going to step up, and it's not about there's got to be a nasty edge. You've got an Aiden O'Neill, not just barreling into somebody and picking up a yellow or a red. Not talking about that at all. But who's going to frickin' turn around? Let's get a nasty edge. I know Thiago Martins and Matt Freese. We see them gesture. We see them vocalize. But I don't know. I don't know how impactful it is at this very moment. But I'm with Pascal. I think we're both Pascal believers. And he said in that one clip that, we'll figure it out. And I think what he means by that is if we have players that aren't getting it done, let's get Farnos. Let's get, when Max Murray's healthy, let's give him I'm saying, let's get guys out there that might want to sacrifice because they're getting an opportunity. It's about sacrificing here. And, it's a 97, 98 minute game or more because you have to talk about stoppage time in the first half too. Mm-hmm. Most of the games are over 100 minutes, Roberto.
Yeah,
absolutely. You take 2 minutes off and it's 4-4. I mean, gee whiz. So
I mean, you can't keep Maxi on the field 90 minutes. When you're playing Saturday, Wednesday. You can't do that. That's why they had to take him off. When you had a 2-goal lead. And you figure, because, I mean, he works there organizing and defensively and everything else too. But my goodness, you got to be able to trust the bench. They did. They scored a goal. But then again, also, it didn't help when they allowed 2 goals.
You sent that post-game Maxi clip. I don't recall who. I guess it was on Instagram. I don't remember. Maybe you remember the source of it. But Maxi's quote, and it was in English. He said, "Twice we need to change something. Coaches, players, everything."
Yeah.
Those were his words. Now, how he would say it in Spanish, I'm not sure. But in English, he said, we need to change something. Coaches, players, everything. That was his post-game comment. So, where that goes leading into Montreal, I do not know.
And look, against Montreal, things haven't been great either. I mean, New York City has been a much better team than Montreal the past 2 seasons, and yet they've lost 3 in a row. And remember that New York City would never lose in Montreal, and now they've lost their last 2 games in Montreal. And I don't know what it is about the word New York every time Montreal sees it, but something happens over there. And they freaking like it. I don't know what we've done to the nice people in Montreal, but the only 2 games that Montreal has won this year is against the Red Bulls.
They've already
New York Red Bulls.
Well, first of all, the schedulers should be there should be some sort of penalty box for whoever's scheduled the fact that that season series is over. In April, their season series is over in April.
And not soon enough for the Red Bulls. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
They've lost 3-0 at home and 4-1 on the road. They got smoked.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, and you're right and remember last year, Roberto, Montreal opened the season 11 games without a win, and their first victory of the year, Prince Owusu, game winner, 1-0 against New York City.
Yeah,
and wow.
And then remember that the last game of the previous year, New York City lost 2-0 in Montreal, and where they had never lost there before.
Yeah, and that impacted their playoff position. That wasn't the one that kept them out of the top 4, or am I?
Yeah, but put them in Cincinnati. One? They still won in Cincinnati on penalty kicks, but yeah, that was the one that put
Roberto, I'm going to go out and come back in. I don't know what happened, but this is like sort of a weekly item, but I'll see you in a sec.
It happens every time to Glenn. I don't know why. Maybe he should switch computers. He runs around the stadium with 2 computers. He might as well use the other one. Anyway, I was looking at the Montreal results this year. And it's crazy. They started the season. They start the season with.
I am back, by the way.
I'm talking about Montreal over here, right? So they start the season right? With the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games on the road.
Yeah.
And they lose 5 of them. 5-0 to San Diego, 3-0 to Chicago, 2-1 to Orlando, 4-3 to Cincinnati, 3-0 to New England. The only win in there was in week 3 against the Red Bulls, 3-0. They go home and they lose to a terrible Philadelphia team that had not won a game, and they lose 2-1. And then the Red Bulls stop in and they beat them 4-1, which is like sort of absolutely crazy. Prince Owusu is the guy that, again, New York City's got to watch. And very much like Denke, a guy who, needs respect by the New York defense in the penalty area. 5 goals, 3 assists, and 8 starts so far. And New York has to know exactly where he is at all times.
Well, Marco Donadel, because of that poor start, got the axe. He was sacked. And Philippe Ulefoy, he's a lifer in the Montreal system. He's a Quebec guy. You can tell from the last name. And so he's one of these guys who knows the players a bit, just based on the amount of time he's been. It sounds really like a Wilfred Nancy kind of guy in terms of how long he's been with them. He's been one of their guys, in the academy system and working his way through. So, that's the, what do they call that? The new coach bump or whatever.
Yeah.
That is, and so maybe that was part of it against the Red Bulls. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Now, they're playing again at home. They've been getting a lot of people. I think they only got like 12,000 in Saputo for the Red Bull game. And that's, about 8,000 below what we normally see there, which is a sellout at Saputo. It's a lovely 20,000 plus stadium. And, I don't know how ticket sales are going. I haven't checked. But based on, the first 2 games that they've played there, not great. And you should remember last year that the owner did this, I guess, either a public pronouncement. I don't know if it was just on a press release or on a media release, or if he did even a press conference. I'm not really sure. I just remember that he basically apologized to the fans and said he was going to be spending more money and they were going to really invest in the team. And you look at this team and you go, really? Where are they investing?
Bologna.
Where are they investing?
Bologna. They own Bologna in Italy, Serie A. That's where they're investing their money.
Yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't here. It wasn't in Montreal. And, the nice, lovely people in Montreal don't need to go to Italy to go see a team play well. And I don't even know if they're playing well because I don't follow, the Italian league that closely.
Hey, I've got a fun Friday night. Tomorrow night, after we land and I talk to Pascal, I'm going to sit in the owner's box at Supra, which is the expansion team in the Canadian Premier League, where Leon Hapgood came from with the Cavalry. And they're playing Halifax and Vanni Sartini. My great friend Marco Masucci knows the whole staff of the Quebec team. So I'm kind of excited, because the CPL is the one that's trialing the daylight offsides, and they've had a goal scored off of a set piece, a corner kick. It was kind of the second phase of a corner where a player scored an important goal, and for us, he would have been offside, but in the CPL, he was onside because there wasn't daylight between him and the second to last defender. So be interesting to see if that comes up at all tomorrow. Go see a CPL game. I've never been to a CPL game, so here we go.
That's pretty awesome. The Canadian that's actually First Division Canadian League.
Yeah.
They're considered First Division.
Yeah, and they're turning out some decent players. There are some players who are getting looks by Jesse Marsh for the national team, or have. I don't know what the final analysis will be there, but so we'll see. So Au Canada, little Supra and Montreal.
Yeah, I haven't made plans yet, but I guess we'll Maddie and Ariel and I will go find a nice place to eat in Montreal.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't invite you into the owner's box, which I don't know what that's really going to be like, and because I don't really know where this game's being played.
It's all good. It's all good. I get it.
owner's box. They usually have food and drink if you're in the owner's box, right?
Yes.
All right. So
Absolutely.
So look, I wanted to review just at least a few of these MLS games. You already talked about Red Bull New York against Montreal. Well, look against DC United. So here we are. There's a game in Harrison, New Jersey, and there's one in the Bronx, and there's 16 goals scored in the two games. The Red Bulls and DC United also finished 4-4. Incredible. And Ty Baribo, he was named MLS Player of the Match Day just this afternoon, had the hat trick. And crazy times.
There was a lot of goals scored last night. Toronto and Philadelphia tied 3-3. And then that one was tied. And then that was a goalie goal by Gavran 6 minutes into stoppage time for Toronto. So that's how they tied that game.
Well, that's really incredible. Hold on, I've got the goal, so I want to share the goal with you. Let me make sure I've got the right one here. But here we go. Let's see. Here it is.
Gavran is there as well. Rolling ball, edge of the box. Cifuentes, a chip shot, flicked on goal. Didn't get the angle. Shallowy. Is there one more from Coelho? Sends it in on his right foot. The flag. Thank God! The keeper has leveled the game at 3.
They push everybody forward. It goes right through the box, and then they recirculate. And watch Gavran right there, coming around the box. The 6'6" goalkeeper rises up with the header at the death. The last kick of the game with the head, and then is off to the races. 3-3. Luka Gavran, the goalkeeper,
I've got a totally
pushed forward on a
take
secondary action, and what a header.
I pause that because I'm still hearing it. Okay, I have a totally different take on all of this. What the hell are they both wearing dark uniforms? I couldn't tell anybody apart.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. What do you mean you couldn't tell anybody apart?
I could not tell anybody apart.
Hold on. Let me see if I can play it again.
Gavran is there as well. Rolling
what are you
ball,
talking about?
Edge of the box.
It's red and black. What are you talking about?
I can't see the difference.
What are you talking about?
Jesus Christ. Do you know that 10% of men are colorblind? And it doesn't mean that we're seeing in black and white. There's nothing that pops out there. I cannot tell the difference between anybody.
Well, that's amazing. I do know men are colorblind. I didn't know it was 10%. I do know people that are colorblind. I guess I did not know you were one of them. And I can't believe you can't tell the difference.
I cannot tell the difference. They all look black.
Oh my God, that is terrible. Then,
seriously, I'm not joking. It's not even an exaggeration. It's not, the only guy that stands out there is the goalie in blue.
Okay.
I can't see. I mean, everybody chime in, please. Let me know. Am I the only one?
No, let's position ourselves that the goalkeeper scored the tying goal with the last kick of the game, and how he repositioned himself. He curled himself back into the middle off the second phase of all that. 6'6" and a snap header. I mean, come on.
That's perfect. That was great.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's seen a lot of that in front of him, and he learned.
Oh my God!
And he learned some other results that were pretty interesting. Okay, Atlanta lost again at home to New England, and Tata Martino said something pretty interesting after the game. He goes, "I know that." He says, "If it wasn't for the fact that I had a really good run here the first time, I probably would have been fired by now."
That's funny. We're on the same page. We don't always consult, but I have the exact same quote written down to read. It's it's amazing. Yeah,
and he's right. But the thing is, they're just not a good team. They're just not a good team. They're going to have to really retool.
One win in 9 games, 1-7-1 in their 9 games. How about San Diego has 8 red cards in their last 7 matches?
Yeah.
Now, what the hell's going on there? Houston beat San Diego 1-0. 8 red cards in the last 7. So there's got to be some discipline training there. Something's going on.
For sure. Who got the red card? Let me see. Who got it this time?
I don't recall.
Amal Pellegrino. Straight red, too.
And he's a veteran. He's like 36 years old. He knows what he's supposedly a little bit more experienced and mature and calm, but not the case on that day. Sun Hung Min, LAFC, told Matt Wells, the Colorado Rapids coach, after the 0-0 draw at BMO, that Colorado was the best team they've played all year. How about that?
That's pretty nice compliment. I mean, that was a 0-0 tie, yeah.
Yeah.
And San Jose, they spotted Austin a first half goal, and then they smoked them in the second half, 5-1.
The best start in franchise history.
Bruce has them playing really well.
Well, that's great. And remember, they lost. I'll never forget. I don't know if you remember. I had Bruce on my Sirius XMFC show, and he used the words addition by subtraction. And he was talking about Espinoza, Martinez, Chicho Arango. And because they had lost, I'm forgetting a player, one more player. Like 3/4 of their goals scored last year were gone. So the whole thing was, well, how are we doing this? They got Timo Werner, but he hasn't, from a goal contribution standpoint, he hasn't been that active yet. He's getting there. It took him a while to get fit. So remarkable. So, but I mean, that was kind of a coy way of saying, look, some of these guys might have been bad apples, and better that they're gone. He didn't say that. He just said addition by subtraction. And you know what that means, Roberto.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's one of the things that in the New York dressing room we always talk about, that there's a lot of harmony, and it's that helps, and that's why, they haven't wanted to bring in, some, major name that may disrupt that by being, either paid way too much, so much more, or doesn't have the same leadership qualities like a Nico Fernandez has, that, first on the field, always wants to play, leader in so many different ways.
Yeah.
They got to get the right sort of guys. And that's been an important element in the New York City dressing room and in the ethos, after what they had with Villa and Lampard and Pirlo, that they haven't want to go back to that model.
As we wrap this up, Roberto, we do have the Montreal game coming up Saturday. It's an afternoon affair. So our pregame show will start at 2:15 for English radio and Spanish radio. And Maddie and I will do our pregame live stream at 1:30 from Stade Saputo. But as we close, here's the headline. World Cup fans hit with tech issues in latest ticket drop. So FIFA made a big deal that they're on Wednesday, starting at, I think it was 11 a.m. Eastern. We're opening up for all 104 games in the World Cup. Every one of them we're open. There's tickets available. We're going to open up the portal, and here we go. So this was from Front Office Sports, and so that either one or I don't know if it was multiple people that worked there, but Front Office Sports waited more than 5 hours in the queue before being able to access tickets for the matches. Fans on social media had similar experiences, some waiting up to 8 hours. One fan reported being logged out while having tickets in their cart, while another said they were similarly booted out of the queue after initially waiting 3.5 hours, got back in, and then had another 4.5 hour wait. And then one fan, this is the kicker. One fan on Reddit, so you have to take some of these things with a grain of salt, but claimed that they found a ticket for the final at MetLife, July 19th, listed at $21,980, including taxes.
At least that.
FIFA did not immediately respond when asked to confirm the accuracy of that figure. In fact, FIFA did not respond to general questions about the ticket drop that were posed by Front Office Sports. They will never get an answer, and FIFA are accountable to no one apparently. And so the fiasco of ticket sales continues. Roberto, we hang around, we talk to a lot of. I don't know anybody in my sector. I don't know anybody going to a World Cup game.
I do. I do. I have two friends that have tickets.
All right.
For MetLife.
Okay. I don't know anybody.
The Senegal game.
I ask everybody. You know,
is it Senegal, France? Is Senegal playing France at
Yes.
MetLife?
That's
Okay,
a great
so
one.
they have tickets there. They cost $500 a piece, and they're both French.
Well, that's good. That's a great game.
And they live here,
That's a great game. Yeah, that's
And
a great
but I mean, it's going to cost them another $300 to get there and get back.
I'm riding my bike.
You're not getting in.
I can park it somewhere and walk. I can't walk in.
No, you're not allowed. Seriously, that's part of the issue. Is that you can't drop people off. You can't do any of that. You either get there by train or by bus, based on everything that I've heard, or you park at the mall for $250.
I'm not doing any of that, so I'm going to try to figure something out.
Well, there's going to be, if you're going to a game, it's because you've gotten a credential, and I'm sure there'll be some accommodation for media, because there always is. The last thing you want to do is piss off media.
Well, you know, there was media accommodations to park at Mercedes-Benz for the previous two friendlies, the ones that didn't go so well down in Hotlanta.
And they charged you. I know, it's insane.
$54. I had to pay $54 twice to park.
I would have taken an Uber. Well, I did take an Uber for the first game. Cost me $16. And I brought 4 fans that were in the hotel. I brought them with me on my dime.
I bought the tickets ahead of time because I was just like, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I figured better to have them than not. And right now I'm lobbying to go to the Senegal-US match, so one of the warm-up matches, the last two. That's May 31st in Charlotte.
Right.
So I may end up going there. I don't know.
I'm thinking of going too, because I'm not going to go to the World Cup, so I might as well go watch those last 2 ones.
So it's like
that's in Charlotte, and the next one is in Chicago.
That's like going to the practice rounds at the Masters, but not actually going to the Masters tournament, because it's almost impossible to get that ticket, or it's overly priced.
I've only been in this business since 1977. Why should I get a credential?
Well, there's no emeritus status in the media. You have to be covering the games.
Well, I was hoping to, but
you have friends. Call the New York Post and tell them you're going to cover the games, man.
They've got people covering. They don't need me.
No, you don't. You don't use your powers strongly enough to get credentials. You could do it, but you know what to do. I'm not telling you. And if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But
it's too late anyway. The credential portals are closed.
All right. And there's a feeling we're going to see a lot of empty seats. I don't know. It's good. Oh, Roberto, did you hear, and this may be true, did you hear at the U.S. opener against Paraguay at SoFi that there are still 29,000 tickets unsold?
Oh, right. It's 40. They've only sold 40% of the tickets. For that venue, 40% of the tickets available at SoFi have been sold, because the prices are outrageous among everything else. And then FIFA says, "Oh, you're in Section 1. Yay! Oh no, we've moved you to Section 2, even though you pay Section 1, and we're charging more for a new Section 1."
Yeah,
it's all a scam.
All right, before we go, what's the Knicks score?
I have no idea, because I'm here.
Oh, I figured you were tracking it. Come on.
No, my full attention is on this and our wonderful fans.
Okay. Very good. All right.
The Knicks are on NBC. I have a horrible fear the Knicks never win on NBC.
All right. That's crazy. That's a stupid superstition. Anyway,
it's not. It's just go look it up. You'll see.
Yeah, it's a stupid superstition. And I'm not completely not superstitious, but that's a stupid one. Saturday, big game coming up, New York City. Winless in 5. Winless in 5, right?
Yep.
Winless in 5. So they've got to try to see if they can get off of it up at Stade Saputo, Montreal. Roberto and I will be on the air at 2:15 on separate broadcasts. He on the Spanish, myself on the English, on the New York City FC radio network. What?
I have one thing, and we got to tell everybody to do this every time. Please, those of you who are on YouTube watching, if you have not liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe and tell other people that we're doing this. We really need to get those subscriptions up. We need to get those likes up. So please do that.
Can they hit the love or just like?
Yes, they can. That would be great.
All
We love them back. We love all of our fans.
Yes.
They got to do that. And if they want to share it and say, hey, listen to these guys, it's pretty cool. Great info here. Please do.
Yeah, it's fun. And we had, this was a good one, getting a chance to see all the goals, but, and some of them not so fun and others very fun. And hey, Nico Fernandez-Marcao, he's just one behind Peter Musa of FC Dallas for the Golden Boot lead in MLS. So maybe he can get another brace up there in Montreal. And let's look at the positives and see what happens.
Yeah.
6 games going into the World Cup break. And I asked Pascal about that last time, and he kind of skirted around it. They need to go in with momentum, in my opinion. It's not going to necessarily impact what happens the second half of the season, but I think it's pretty important that they feel good about themselves after to go into a 5-week break. And by the way, June 8th, teams cannot convene. They can't go to the facility. There's apparently, I don't know where the law or rule comes from, until June the 18th. So nothing's going to be going on until June the 18th.
And the season resumes when?
July. Well, the final's the 19th. I think it's right after that.
There's a double header in between the semifinals and the finals.
Oh,
so at least the season for a few teams start between there.
All right. Well,
there's going to be a double header that I think is going to be on Fox or something like that. So
it's July 22nd. New York City will be at Columbus Crew. So you're correct. The final's on the 19th. So it's 3 days after the final.
Right. So that's for New York City, but there will be some teams that are playing in a doubleheader.
I don't understand what you're saying. There's going to be 4 MLS teams that will start before. Okay. I'm just letting you know. All right. Well, weren't we talking about when New York City plays again?
Well, we was just talking about teams in general, but yes,
all right, we were actually the June 18th date. So you're right, Roberto. You're always right.
And, I'm not always right. Stop it.
Oh, that's all right. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Go Knicks.
Yes, please.
Looking for their first NBA title since Marv Albert was calling their games. So on radio,
there's that. Even the Mets won, for crying out loud. The Mets broke a 12-game schneid.
Yeah, how about that? On a day where Jaden Shaw from Gotham FC and the U.S. women's national team threw out the first pitch. So she's like they're saying she needs to come to every game now.
The Mets need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
By the way, good news for it. By the way, that's really good news. Not that they won, but that they had lost 12 in a row. Great news for New York City FC, because if the Mets don't make the playoffs, Citi Field's available for the last 2 games of the season, and I believe, and playoffs. So they don't have to go out to Jersey.
I don't root against any New York teams. And if we want to close on a baseball night, the Dodgers. He's pitched 6 times this year, has a 0.38 earned run average, which is tops in the major leagues. And last night he had a streak of 53 consecutive games of getting on base ended.
Oh.
He's the best player maybe in the history of the game. I think if he maintains any semblance of this for another, 5 or 6 years, it's going to be hard to argue that.
Yeah, I for what I've heard, and I'm not much of a baseball fan, but he's absolutely off the charts and might be the greatest baseball player ever. Sorry, babe.
Knicks, my son just wrote, Ryan, how are you? Maybe he's listening in. He said the Knicks are on Amazon Prime, so you don't have to worry about the.
Oh, good! Yay! Okay, we have a chance.
Yeah. So all right, for Roberto, I'm Glenn. Good night, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.